أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي نور قلوب العارفين بنور معرفته وأثبت فؤاد أنبيائه وأوليائه بقصص الأنبياء والمرسلين وأكمل إيمان المسلمين والمؤمنين بولاية علي أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أفضل الموجودات العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أعني أبا القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى روحه ونفسه وسهره ووسيه سيد الأتقياء والأسفياء مولى الموالي إمام المتقين علي بن أبي طالب وعلى أوصيائه لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفدا واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم. We are going to be talking about Surah Naba, the great event or the great news, which is Surah number 78 in the Holy Quran, and it is the first Surah in the 30th Juz, the 30th Para, the 30th part of the Holy Quran. There are 30 parts. The original collection of the Holy Quran were chapters, and these chapters are called Surah in Arabic, and there are verses which are called Ayat. Singular is Ayat, or verses Ayat. Ayat means a sign, and Surah literally means chapter, and the Holy Quran consists of 114 chapters, 114. 86 of these chapters were revealed in Mecca. The Holy Prophet first lived in Mecca, then he migrated and came to Medina, and then many of those chapters were revealed in Medina. So 28 chapters were revealed in Medina. There is a dispute amongst the scholars. The scholars believe, the Mufassirin, all Mufassirin agree that 20 chapters were revealed in Medina and 82 were revealed in Mecca. So that's 102 chapters. But upon 12 chapters, there are disputes. Some say these were revealed in Mecca, some say these were revealed in Medina. But nevertheless, the Shia scholars generally believe that the 86 chapters were revealed in Mecca. Most of these are small chapters from the end of the Quran. And many chapters were revealed in 28 of these chapters were revealed in Medina after the Holy Prophet migrated. Now the chapters are shorter, the ones revealed in Mecca, and they are about Tawheed, about the hereafter, about miraculousness of this universe, and the longer chapters have many rulings on the fiqh issues like jurisprudential issues about marriage, about divorce, about will, about the Muslim society, about battles. And so you can tell which chapters are which. Nevertheless, amongst the chapters which are disputed, which were, whether they were revealed, this surah was revealed in Makkah or Medina, Surah Fatiha. So most of the Shia scholars believe that it was revealed in Makkah, but many scholars believe that it was revealed in Medina. And people like Sayyid Abul Qasim al-Khuyi, Atullah Marhum al-Khuyi, and many others believe that it was revealed twice in Makkah and in Medina. That's why it's called Sab'ai Mathani, 7 repeated, or 7 oft repeated. So, and some scholars say it is called 7 oft repeated because we recite it twice in every prayer. Nevertheless, so now the Holy Quran is a living miracle. It was given to the Holy Prophet as a proof on his messengership. Now all messengers were given miracles to prove to the people that they were sent by God. and the Holy Prophet was given the Holy Quran because his messengership is till the Day of Judgment. That's why his book is till the Day of Judgment. And this Holy Quran is a living miracle, and it is a proof that the Holy Prophet um, was a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was sent by Allah. And no one so far has been able to bring a chapter like the chapters of the Holy Quran. So the Holy Quran in the beginning said, bring one book like the Holy Quran. When the people couldn't, فَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ, bring a book like the Holy Quran. Then it said, فَأْتُوا بِعَشَرِ سُوَرٍ مِثْلِهِ, bring 10 chapters like the chapters of the Holy Quran. When the people couldn't, then the Holy Quran said, فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Just bring one chapter like the chapters of the Holy Quran and bring whoever you like to help you. So there are 114 chapters, but never the Holy Quran said bring one verse like the verses of the Holy Quran, because there are very short verses as well in the Holy Quran, like Yasin, like Noon, like Wal Fajr, Wal Asr. So it is important that we stick to the challenge of the Holy Quran, like the Holy Quran says. Just bring a chapter like the chapters of the Holy Quran. Now, Quran has remained unchanged for 14 centuries. We have copies of the Holy Quran which go centuries back. So there are many people in the modern world that claim that no book remains unchanged for 500 years. No book remains unchanged for 100, 200 years, 500 years. But the Holy Quran has remained unchanged for 14 centuries. It was revealed to the Holy Prophet, and we'll give proofs why it has remained. Many people may come and ask, why didn't the Bible or the Torah and the Psalms of David remain unchanged? They were words of God. You believe that they were words of God? Yes, we do believe they're word of God. Then why haven't they remained unchanged? Well, for many reasons, but I'll just give one or two. Number one, they were not sent to those messengers as miracles. Torah was not given to Moses as a miracle. Psalms of David and Bible to Jesus were not given as miracles. They were messages and laws, but they were not living miracles. They were not miracles of those prophets. The miracle of the of Nabi Musa alayhi salam, of Holy Moses, was not Torah. It was his palm that had light and a staff that would turn into a python. Jesus used to blow onto the people to cure them, and would touch them and they would be cured. David had a touch in his hand that would turn a metal into, would melt a metal. So, number one, the Quran remains unchanged because it is a miracle of the Holy Prophet, and those books were not miracles. Secondly, they were going to be abrogated, mansukh, and the abrogator is Quran. Nasikh is Quran. Quran is going to abrogate the rules and teachings of those books. Not all, but many of those. So therefore, those books were not to remain unchanged. And they were, number three, compiled by the people much after those prophets themselves. So Bible was compiled 100 to 200 years after Jesus. Anyway, the Holy Quran in Surah Hijr, Surah number 15 says, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. Indeed, we revealed this book and we will protect it. So we are its protectors. So the Almighty promises that this book will remain unchanged, and it remains unchanged because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected it. What is the proof that it has remained unchanged? Well, we have copies, manuscripts of the Holy Quran that go back centuries. We have books 800 years old, copies of the Holy Quran manuscripts 1,000 years old. In fact, we have the copy that was compiled by Ali ibn Abi Talib والسلام, by himself. We still have that copy in Najaf, and it has now been published. It is in Khatt Kufi, meaning the writing Imam Ali al-Islam used was of Kufa. There were two main ways of writing, of Kufa and of Basra. Anyway, so it is in the writing of Imam Ali alayhi salam, still present. We have the original Quran, and it is unchanged. It is still the same Quran. And we have copies from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Imam Raza alayhi salam, in Mashhad and in many of the other towns by Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. So we have the original copies of the Quran by these Aimma alayhi salam. And then recently, few years ago, if you search online, you will find an article in major newspapers in Britain, and also a BBC news covered it, and many of the channels, that in England, in Birmingham University, they had a copy of the Holy Quran. They said probably this is the oldest copy of the Holy Quran, which date back to the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. And then it was taken from that university to Oxford University, because Oxford University has certain machines that look at the books, the binding of the book, the paper and the ink and the writing, to determine the age of that book. And they said that we, the British, have the oldest copy of the Holy Quran, which dates back to the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. So this is a proof, and it is the same Quran that we have today. So Alhamdulillah, this is the proof that the Holy Quran has remained unchanged. So the Holy Quran has remained unchanged for centuries. You see, it is a living miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there were many, many stories. Many people, tried their best. Do you think they would go to battle and they would try to attempt to assassinate the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam if they could answer the Holy Quran? They wouldn't. They tried everything, and when they couldn't bring a chapter like the chapter of the Holy Quran, they failed, and then they said, okay, let's give up. Let's kill him. And many, many different scholars sat down and tried, and the Holy Quran, the Holy Prophet ordered them to write a chapter from the Holy Quran, the shortest chapter, Surah Kawthar, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Inna a'atainaka al-Kawthar, fasalli li rabbika wanhar, inna shani'aka huwal abtar. And he said, go and hang this in Kaaba. The Kaaba itself had sab'a mu'allaqat. Every year they used to have a festival where all the Arabs used to gather together in Mecca from all over the Arabian Peninsula, from all over the Arab world. People would come, and the best of the poets would read their literature. They would read their poetry, and then they would tell the people how good they were. And then some of the poets, they had said such beautiful verses, poetry, that 7 of these were hanging inside Kaaba. That so far no one has said anything better than this. Sab'a mu'allaqat, 7 hanging pieces of literature in Kaaba. So these were the best pieces of literature up to the time. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he said, go and hang this chapter, Kaaba, next to those 7 best pieces of literature where they are hanging. So everyone started reading it, and everyone started attempting to answer and write something similar. They all tried. All the poets got together, the biggest of the brains, Abu Sufyan, sent it off, Utbah, Shayba, and Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, they all got together. Hisham, they were all trying their best to answer the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's challenge and bring a chapter like the Holy Quran. When they all tried for months, and they said, well, we can't bring anything like it, they said, well, let's go to Sha'sha. There was a poet in Mecca called Sha'sha. Sheen Ayn, Sha'sha. He did not speak for the whole year. He only spoke one day every year. Whenever they had the festival, they would all come together, and he would speak then. He would attempt, and when he spoke, he would be so eloquent that no one could, people wanted to listen to him, and he did not wish to lose his eloquency. That's why he did not speak through the year. And every day, every afternoon or evening, he would come out of his house and he would go for a walk, and people would bring their pieces of poetry. Many of them could not even write, but they could say poetry. That's how good the Arabs were in poetry. So they would ask one person and say, okay, please write my poetry. And they would bring it to Sha'sha. He would read, and he had a pen in his hand, and he would quickly just make corrections on the paper. He would not speak. He would just make corrections. So the people said, let's take this surah, this chapter, Surah Kawthar, to Sha'sha. And let's see what mistakes he can take out from this Quran. They took it off and they took it to Shasha. When they came to Shasha, Shasha would read once any piece of poetry or any literature and he would make corrections. So he picked up his pen and he quickly read it to take out mistakes from Surah Kauthar. When he read it, he couldn't find any mistakes, so he read it the second time. When he read it the second time, he picked up his pen to find faults. He couldn't find any mistakes. He read it the third time. When he read it the third time, he read it and then he spoke. The man who did not speak through the year, he spoke. He said, Ma hadha min kalamil bashar. This is not the word of mankind. This is beyond the reach of mankind. Meaning there is a power, supernatural power, we call God, who has said this, because man cannot say anything like this. Now the Arabs knew that they cannot answer the Holy Prophet. They gathered together in the house of Abu Sufyan. Sanadi, the Arab got together. The Sanadi, the tribal leaders, the tribal heads, they all got together in the house of Abu Sufyan and said, what do we do? And Abu Jahl said, let's kill Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we will kill him. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, migrate to Medina. So the Holy Quran is a masterpiece in literature. Even the Arabs and non-Arab, the Muslims and non-Muslims alike use the Holy Quran verses when they want to mention that this is a law in Arabic language, and the law can be seen in this verse of the Holy Quran. So a living miracle which has 114 chapters. We sometimes read the Holy Quran, but it does not have the impact on us that it should. Sometimes, because we have become so worldly, we listen to the verses, but they do not have the impact. In olden times, because there was no printing machines, they did not have printed copies of the Holy Quran. People would memorize and go and teach others. And if they wanted to write a surah down, then they would need to make a copy, and they did not even have paper common everywhere. They didn't have, like we have paper, it is readily available everywhere. So they had to buy paper from others. So nevertheless, some of the Arabs, they had the paper and the others did not have paper. So if they wanted to make a copy, they would listen to someone and they would write Quran. One of the great scholars says in centuries back, he said he was traveling through a town and he found a masjid, and he stopped and he said, I want to pray. He went inside the masjid after doing wudu and he saw a young man whose face was glowing. He said, wow, this young man is so spiritual. He is such a practicing person. After completing his prayer, he went to the young man and he said, young man, do you know the Holy Quran? He said, I know very little. I wish I heard more of the Holy Quran. I wish I had read more Quran. He said, let me read out a few verses to you from the Holy Quran. He said, please do. So the young man quickly sat down and he said, please read. So the scholar, he started, he said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nazza'atan lish-shawa, describing the hellfire. That the flames of the hellfire are so strong. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara waquduha an-nas wal hijara. O you who believe, fear the hellfire and make your families fear the hellfire. It burns away the man and rocks. And he said, oh my God, if it burns away the rocks, then human beings' my bones are very weak. And he cried and he dropped. And the man said, what happened? He said, I fainted because of the verses of the Holy Quran. He read a few verses, because there are more than 2,700 verses in the Holy Quran that talk about the hereafter, that talk about the hellfire, the paradise. And he said he read a few more verses about the hellfire, and the young man died. And he said, I was really hurt badly, and I was shocked that I read these verses all the time, but this young man was so pure, so clean, that he died hearing the verses about the hellfire. He said, all the people in the masjid started seeing. He said, the man died. And the family came in and said, everyone started gathering. His family started crying. And they said, okay, we're going to do ghusl kafan. He said, I requested the family, because I have seen this young man, how pure he is. Can I take part in his ghusl and kafan, in his ritual bathing? After decease, you have to wash the body. In Islam, ritual bathing and the shroud, giving ritual clothing, the kafan. He said, yes. He said, when we removed his shirt to wash him, he says, I saw on his chest an ayat written with the qalam, with a pen of light, meaning it was not real writing, but it was noor, on his light on his chest, that said, وَهُوَ فِي عَيْشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ فِي جَنَّةٍ عَالِيَةٍ. Indeed, he is in the high position of paradise. وَهُوَ فِي عَيْشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. He is in a very good life in the high position of paradise. He said, the man said, I was so amazed. What is this? Is this real? Am I seeing a dream? He said, I was amazed. I said that night in that town, and he said, the same night I saw the young man in my dream. When he came, he was wearing a crown on his head that the kings wear, and he had such a beautiful garment. He said, I went forward and he was smiling, and he said, I'm in paradise. He said, what happened? How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treat you in the hereafter? What position do you hold? He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me higher status in the paradise than the shuhada, than the martyrs. He said, why? Why do you have a bigger position than the martyrs in paradise? He said, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the martyrs were killed by my enemies. The shuhada were killed by my enemies, and you were killed by my ayat, by my verse of the Holy Quran. Therefore, I'm going to give you a position in paradise that I will not even give shuhada. So we read the Holy Quran, but we don't really truly understand the depth of the Holy Quran. There are 114 chapters in the Holy Quran, 114, and every chapter, the first verse is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, except for Surah Tawbah. Surah Tawbah is repentance, Surah number 9, because it starts off Bara'atu min Allah wa Rasulih, that immunity, it is about the punishment, or that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forsakes the ones who forsake him. So therefore it doesn't start with Bismillah, but every chapter other than Surah number 9 starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in the Holy Quran. So this verse, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, has appeared 114 times in the Holy Quran, 113 times before the surahs, before every chapter, except for one. And it has appeared in Surah Naml, Surah number 27, the ant, twice, once in the beginning, once in the middle, where a bird, a woodpecker or something, flies from Nabi Solomon, King Solomon, to the queen of Saba. Yes. And he goes to her, takes the letter from Suleiman, and he says, Innahu min Suleimana. This letter is from Suleiman. Innahu Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And this letter reads, and when it starts, it starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Bismillah was not only specific to the Holy Prophet, and it's not only just given to Muslims, but it was given to the prophets before the Holy Prophet as well. So it read Bismillah ar-Rahman. It started off with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So 149, and you should make a habit of saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim before everything. In the Holy Prophet ﷺ says, "Kullu amrin dhi balin lam yubtada bi Bismillah fahuwa abtar." Any affair that is important to you, that has any importance, and you do not start it with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, then it has no end. It is without any results, without any good outcome. So always start everything with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Start eating your food with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your lesson with Bismillah. And in short, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is called Basmala. Basmala is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Or Hayqala is La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Or Takbir is Allahu Akbar. It's called Takbir. Or Tasbih, Subhanallah is called Tasbih. Or Hayhala, La ilaha illallah is called Hayhala. So these are short forms. So before everything, before you go to bed, before you go out of the house, before you leave your house, before you start your speech, before everything, before you start your lesson, before you start teaching, always say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Make a habit, and then there will be barakat in it when you call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Rahman and Rahim. And the riwayat say that as soon as a child says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the traditions say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the parents, because the child has said Bismillah ar-Rahman, in the name of Allah I seek help, in the name of Allah, that beneficent, the merciful, or the most beneficent, the most merciful, or the most compassionate, the most merciful. So here ba has 9 meanings in Arabic, and one of them is for seeking help, for isti'ana, for seeking help, and one of them is to begin, for ibtida. So I begin in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, or I seek help from the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. So whatever you want to say. So always start everything with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has repeated this verse so many times in the Holy Quran, and it is a part of every surah it appears before. There are 3 views amongst our Sunni brothers. They believe it is not a part of any surah, one view. Second view it is a part of only Surah Fatiha. And third view amongst them is it is a part of every surah, but it is not a complete ayat before every surah, it is a part of the ayat. And the fourth view is of Ja'fari school of thought, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. We believe it is a part of every surah except for Surah Tawbah, and it is a complete verse before every surah. It is a full verse. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is a complete verse of the Holy Quran. It consists of 5 words. A word is either a noun or a verb or a particle in English. In Arabic as well. A word is called kalima, and kalima la ilaha illallah is also called kalima, but kalima is a word in Arabic. And ism, fi'l and harf. Ism is noun, fi'l is verb, and harf is particle. Now, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim has 5 words. Ba, which is a particle. Ism, which is a noun. Allah, which is a noun. Ar-Rahman, which is a noun. And Ar-Rahim, which is a noun. So there are 4 nouns and 1 particle. So it is made up of 5 words. Ba in the meaning of I begin in the name of Allah, or I seek help from Allah in the name of Allah, who is the most beneficent, the most merciful. Bismillah. It was ism. Ism is ism. Ism means name, in the name of Allah. Name is ism in Arabic. But because of kasratul istimal, because of appearing so many times, the alif dropped and it became Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. But the alif has remained in Surah Alaq. Iqra bi ismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of thy Lord who has created. So there it says bi ismi, but here it says Bismillah. So alif has dropped. So you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah is the name of Allah. All of the names of Allah are His attributes. So you can name a person, a child, with the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but not Allah. You cannot name a child Allah, but you can name them Rahim, Kareem, Shakur. But there is a verse in the Holy Quran that says Huwa Allah or Huwa Rahman. You either call him Allah or call him Rahman. Therefore, Rahman is also a name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you cannot apply to a person. You cannot name a person Rahman. You can call them Abdur Rahman. But it is makruh, highly discouraged in the Shias, to name your child Abdur Rahman, because the murderer of Imam Ali alayhi salam was named Abdur Rahman ibn Muljim. His name was Abdur Rahman ibn Muljim, the one who assassinated Imam Ali alayhi salam. His name was Abdur Rahman ibn Muljim. Therefore, it is highly discouraged to name your children Abdur Rahman. Nevertheless, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah is the name of Allah. So you cannot name anyone else but Allah with the title Allah, with the name Allah. That's His name. Some people believe that Allah, and it is, if you say Allah, don't say Allah. Allah. Allahu Akbar. Because and there was a name of an idol called Lat, Manat, Habl and Uzza. These were four biggest idols of the Arabs in Mecca. And so they used to call the Lat, they used to call him Al-Lat. You know, Al in the beginning, they always Al-Quran. So they will call Lat Al-Lat. And because the two lamps came together, Al-Lat, they would say Al-Lat. That resembled Allah. So that's why the Holy Prophet said, don't say Allah, Allah. So people know clearly that you're not saying Allah, but you're saying Allah. So Allah is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has no diminutive, or it has no singular, no dual, no plural. It has no tasghir, nothing. It is Allah, always one word. Some believe that it is Al-Ilah. Ilah is deity, someone who is something which is worshipped, like fire. People used to worship fire, still do. People used to worship the sun or the stars. Anything which is worshipped, or the cow, anything which is worshipped is called Ilah. And so some people believe that Muslims named their God Al-Ilah, and it became from Al-Ilah to Allah. Ilah means D-E-I-T-Y, deity. So there is no God, La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. Ilah means ma'bud, someone who is worshipped, someone who is served. So we believe that there is La ilaha illallah. There is no ma'bud, there is no God, there is no one worthy of worship except Allah. But it is not Al-Ilah, it is complete Allah. Okay? It is not taken from Ilah. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Then you say Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman is the most merciful. Rahim and Rahman, both are from Rahim. Rahim is mercy. Allah is Rahman and Rahim. If both are Rahman and Rahim means merciful, then why two words? So Allah has mentioned His name once, Allah, but He mentions Rahman and Rahim twice. So two mercies. He is twice as merciful as His Majesty. He's great, but His mercy is greater than everything. وَوَسِعَتْ اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء. Imam Ali says in Nahj Balagha, in Dua Kumail, "O Allah, I ask you by thy mercy, by your mercy, which encompasses everything." His mercy encompasses everything. وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. In the Holy Quran it says, and my mercy encompasses everything. So he says Rahman and Rahim. According to Riwayat and the Ayat of the Quran, Rahman, Allah is Rahman, merciful for everyone, believer or disbeliever. Anyone who believes in Allah or doesn't believe, Allah still is merciful. He does not take away the oxygen that everyone has. If you believe in Him or you don't believe in Him, everyone has it. The food and drink we have, the shelter, everything, everyone has. He doesn't say, okay, you don't believe in me, I won't give it to you. No, everyone has it. So He's Rahman for everyone. That's why Rahman is mentioned first. So Rahman is for everyone. And Rahim is only specific for believers. وَبِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. And He is merciful and compassionate for the believers. And some hadith say, Ya Rahman ad-dunya wa rahimahuma. O Rahman of this world and Rahim of this world and the hereafter. And some say Rahim al-akhirah. But no, Rahimahuma. Rahim al-akhirah is Rahim for the hereafter for believers only. He's Rahim for only believers, but Rahman for believers and disbelievers. But Rahimahuma means in this world He is Rahman and Rahim for believers. And Rahman only for believers and disbelievers, but Rahim for believers only. So in this world and the hereafter, only for believers, Rahim. So you start any surah with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I begin in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Or I seek help from Allah, who is the most compassionate, the most merciful. I seek help from the name of Allah, in the name of Allah, from the name of Allah. Any surah you begin with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So make a habit. A person came to Imam Islam, one of his companions, and as soon as he sat down on a chair, the chair broke and it dropped. And Imam Islam quickly said, praise be to God who compensates our believers in this world, for the sins. He compensates them. So he said, Maulana, what sin did I do? I came to see you. He said, well, you sat down on the chair without reading Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When you're so close to me, make a habit of reading Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim with everything. Make a habit. With everything, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And Imam Raza Islam says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is closer to Ism A'zam, the greatest name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, than the darkness of the eye, the blackness of the eye, to the whiteness of the eye. Meaning, we have those two are connected. Our eye has the white part and the black part, or the darker part and the white part. They are connected. Imam Raza says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is closer than these two to Ism A'zam, the greatest name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to become closer to Allah, then make a habit of saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It makes your life easy. When you're leaving the house, always say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If you can, then recite Surah Ikhlas or Ayat al-Kursi when you're leaving the house. When you enter the house, read Surah Ikhlas or Ayat al-Kursi, whatever you can. So there are many, many blessings in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim because you're calling Allah Rahman and Rahim. So make sure that you have a habit of saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inshallah, we will talk about Surah Naba from tomorrow in the next session. But today I just wanted to express that it is the month of Ramadan and make a habit of reading the Holy Quran. Even if you read a little, but read the Holy Quran with understanding the Holy Quran. And sometimes just repeating Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim can give you so many blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that otherwise you will not get. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He hastens in the reappearance of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Oh Allah, protect all the mu'mineen from this pandemic, from coronavirus. Oh Allah, protect all the organizers of Husaynia in Seattle, all the brothers and sisters who have organized these sessions. Oh Allah, bless all the people who are listening to these lessons and increase in the sustenance of all the people who have organized this and all the people who are